Free travel really isn't free, and I know that sounds like an oxymoron, but stick with me and I will prove my point. We've seen the pictures and watched the videos on social media that show some crazy good aspirational travel redemptions, from luxurious airline redemptions like flying with Singapore Airlines in their first class suite product that comes with a bed in addition to your actual seat, to once-in-a-lifetime trips to exclusive destinations like the Maldives. These options for travel can easily cost you tens of thousands of dollars right out of the gate, but with credit card points, these options can be attainable to a greater number of people who never dreamt that they'd be able to afford such a lavish vacation. But take it from me, free travel can cost you more than you think, and I'm going to go over 3 reasons why. Let's talk about sign-up bonuses, but let's talk about them from a different perspective than I usually share. The sign-up bonus for a new credit card is extremely important because this is the way you're going to be able to accumulate the majority of your points. Those points are essentially the valuable currency needed to get you outsized value through exchanging those points for flight and hotel redemptions by transferring those points out to transfer partners. And this is why many of us in the credit card game hold so many different credit cards, and even accumulating those points can be very expensive, especially for those coveted travel credit cards that offer a lot of flexibility. For example, when we take a look at the Amex Platinum card on Resi.com, it comes with an offer of 100,000 membership reward points after spending $6,000 on purchases within the first 6 months of card membership, and it also comes with 10x points on up to $25,000 in purchases at restaurants during your first 6 months of card membership. That's a total potential sign-up bonus of 350,000 points, which is totally awesome. But to accumulate that amount of points, you have to spend a total of $31,000. There are a lot of people who probably won't be able to do this, but in all honesty, based on the target audience for the Amex Platinum card, that is a very strong offering that is attainable to probably a good enough portion of their target audience. Anyway, getting back on topic, let's take a look at a few other popular travel credit cards really quickly to help to drive this point home. The Chase Sapphire Preferred is another really popular travel credit card that works best when paired with the Chase Freedom Unlimited and Chase Freedom Flex, and the Sapphire Preferred requires $4,000 in spend within the first 3 months of account opening in order to be able to get somewhere around 60,000 points. But Chase has elevated this offer a few times within the past 2 years to at least 80,000 points. And then let's take a look at the Capital One Venture X, and that also requires $4,000 in spend within the first 3 months of account opening in order to receive 75,000 miles. Now, when the Venture X first hit the market, it offered 100,000 miles with a minimum spend of $10,000 within the first 6 months of account opening, and I believe I'm remembering that correctly, but if I'm not, feel free to correct me in the comment section down below. And these are just the personal credit cards. We have to talk about the business credit cards. So many of us in the credit card game also have business credit cards that typically require a larger amount of spend to receive the sign-up bonus. For example, the Chase Inc. Business Cash and Chase Inc. Business Unlimited require spending a total of $6,000 within the first 3 months of account opening in order to receive $750 in cash back, which comes in the form of ultimate reward points, so it'll be 75,000 ultimate reward points. The more attractive business charge cards from American Express, that being the Business Gold or Business Platinum, typically requires even more spend, that's usually $10,000 or more, unless Amex is running a limited time offer, and the amount of points offered is usually tens of thousands of points, and I've seen up to 150,000 points for the Business Platinum card, but that required a spend of $15,000 within just 3 months of account opening. Yeah, that's a significant amount of money, literally $5,000 per month. The point here is you are going to need to spend a sizable amount of money to accumulate the points necessary to redeem for those aspirational vacations in first class or at those lovely hotels. So don't just apply for a credit card blindly and think that you will get those points automatically. Have a plan and have the funds already budgeted and accessible to be able to meet the minimum spend requirements within the allotted time frame. This is why a lot of us credit card content creators tend to strategically time opening those credit cards with attractive sign-up bonuses. And you may be thinking, I can simply skip the sign-up bonus altogether and just earn points on my regular monthly spending. That is true, but it'll take you a pretty long time to accumulate points, as your return on spend won't be nearly as high as when spending toward meeting the welcome offer. Now, this topic right here is the main reason that kept me away from team travel for so long. It just didn't make sense to me to pay an annual fee just to be able to use a credit card when there are so many no annual fee credit cards on the market to choose from that offer pretty good cash back. But I had to change my mindset a little bit, and that really came through gaining more education in the credit card game. However, even with that education, I can acknowledge and caution you about the fact that accumulating too many travel credit cards can also become pretty darn expensive. I cannot recommend getting every single travel credit card out there. You are going to have to pick and choose which credit card will fit well in your wallet based upon your spending, because if you aren't careful, it'll be very easy for you to exceed over $1,000 per year in annual fees alone just to hold those credit cards that you might not use. Let's take a look at this footage from Stan the Credit Frog when he revealed his total credit card portfolio along with the annual fees. And granted, I believe that his portfolio has changed a little bit since he uploaded this video, and I'm pretty sure he'll comment down below and confirm or deny what I said. Shout out to you, Stan.
Business Advantage Customized Cash Rewards card, so that new card is now reflected in the lineup. And here's a portfolio with the annual fees listed over each card. You can see that I have a total of 15 cards, with 6 of those cards having annual fees. The American Express Morgan Stanley Platinum at $695, the American Express Gold card at $250, the American Express Classic Platinum at $695, the Bank of America Premium Rewards Elite card at $550, the Delta Reserve card at $550, and the United Explorer card at $95, with total annual fees of $2,835.
But by the way, Stan, thanks so much for that footage, and yes, I took it without asking, but I will link your channel down below. So to all of you watching this video, be sure to check out Stan's channel. Stan is a really awesome credit card content creator. Anyway, in his video, Stan revealed his total annual fees to be at $2,835. That's nearly $3,000 in annual fees that I wouldn't even recommend for myself, because first of all, I don't think I can even afford that much in annual fees. Now, Stan is awesome and he's able to keep track of all of that, and props to him. And I also recall that he had a plan to reduce that annual fee total. But if you aren't a credit card connoisseur, or better yet, a credit card content creator, then I would urge you to proceed with caution when opening new credit cards with the sole purpose of accumulating points for free travel. For example, the Amex Trifecta is pretty darn expensive and can cost you $945 per year. The Amex Gold card comes with an annual fee of $250, and the Amex Platinum card has an annual fee of $695. Now, the Amex Business Plus does not have an annual fee, and thank God for that. That's real money out of your bank account every single year that you continue to hold this trifecta. In contrast, the Chase Trifecta or City Trifecta can cost you $95 per year, as their mid-tier travel credit cards are probably sufficient for most people out there. And those credit cards are none other than the Chase Sapphire Preferred and City Premier, or you can go after the Capital One Duo that'll cost you $395 per year, as the Venture X comes with an annual fee and the Capital One Saver One does not have an annual fee. Definitely do your research and be mindful that as you accumulate credit cards with annual fees, that cost really begins to stack up over time. Personally, I find more value in having 2 different credit card ecosystems so that I can focus on using one ecosystem for airline flight redemptions, which in my case will be through using the Amex membership rewards, and using the other ecosystem, that being the Chase Ultimate Reward, for Hyatt hotel redemptions. Just note that I do not have the Amex Platinum because it's just way too expensive for me right now. I'll probably get it one day to review it for the channel, but my perspective may be a little bit different than the popular perspective. Spoiler alert, I guess, maybe. Now, there are very valid arguments that you can offset those annual fees with the statement credits available for most of those credit cards, and in some cases the argument can even go further to validate the point that the credit card can essentially pay you to hold it just based on the credits available. But I want to be very clear, that annual fee is still something that you legitimately have to pay, as it will be charged to your credit card, and in order for you to take advantage of the majority of those statement credits, it's also going to require you to spend money in some way, hence the name statement credit, so that you can be credited, more or less a coupon or a refund. The first 2 points in this video were pretty obvious, so let's move on to one that may not be so obvious to many people who are intrigued by free travel, and those are the taxes and fees that you may incur when redeeming flights with points. And these fees will vary depending upon the type of travel you're doing. For example, when redeeming points for a hotel stay with Hyatt at the time of the recording of this video, you won't necessarily have to pay any resort fees or taxes. At least that was the case in my experience. Your mileage may vary, and this is my disclaimer in case that changes. But this typically does not translate over to redeeming redeeming points or miles for a flight, and depending upon where that flight is going, the taxes and fees may be a small amount of money or it can be a significant amount of money. And if that isn't complicated enough, sometimes you can spend much more in taxes and fees for the exact same trip if not booked strategically. So let's take a look at a couple of examples. Let's start off with a quick and simple round-trip ticket on Delta Airlines. And I actually randomly selected Tuesday, March 12th as the departure date and Tuesday, March 19th as the return date, and it came out to being one of the lowest cost redemptions available. If only I can predict the Powerball or Mega Million numbers in that way, but you know. And you can see that there are a few options here, and I'm not showing them all on the screen, but the options literally range from morning to evening time at that exact same price, and the business class price actually isn't bad either. Anyway, you can see that the total for the round trip flight would be 12,000 miles plus $11.20 out of pocket for taxes and fees. And that's not bad, right? You save a little bit of money, and I'll show you the cash total for the same flight. Obviously, it's not going to be an amazing cents per mile value, but it's still value. Now let's take it up a notch with the same airline. Let's change the itinerary to go to London. And once again, we see that those states still offer the lowest fares, but this time we want to fly in Delta One, which is Delta's first class product on international flights. The total amount of points for the Delta One flight is 370,000 miles and just about $347 out of pocket for taxes and fees. Now, I do think that this redemption requires a ton of miles, and if we pay attention to that return flight, we can see that it is on Virgin Atlantic since the first class product changed to upper class. So let's research the same itinerary on Virgin Atlantic. With the same dates and the same class of seating, the total amount of points required for this trip would be 150,000 points and nearly $2,200 in fees. Even though this redemption will cost you less than half the amount of points or miles, you're looking at spending more than 6 times the amount in cash due to the pesky international surcharge. And when we look at the cash price of this ticket without the use of points, the total will be just over $4,000. So this redemption value really isn't that great with Virgin Atlantic either, since you're still going to pay more than half the cash price to be able to redeem an upper class flight on this route. Since this is a flight to London, I immediately began to think of British Airways, so it should be safe to assume that British Airways would offer a good deal on this flight, right? Wrong. That couldn't be further from the truth. If you take a look below, the British Airways redemption actually ends up costing more points and about the same amount of cash as the Virgin Atlantic redemption, and we already know that I'm not a fan of that option. So I was down to one more attempt for this flight, since I know that American Airlines miles can be used to book British Airways flights, and since the taxes and fees supplied with Delta Airlines were much lower, I decided to give it a shot, and I finally landed upon what I would consider to be a decent redemption value. The American Airlines redemption costs the least amount of miles, and the amount of cash out of pocket isn't too outrageous. However, I did have to change my airport from Fort Lauderdale to Miami, which isn't a huge deal, but I prefer not to fly out of Miami due to the volume of international flights that arrive at that airport. And just a quick side note here, the outgoing flight is on British Airways Airbus A380 aircraft, which is an airplane I love to fly on one day, even though I'm a little bit afraid of flying. And the return flight is operated by American Airlines, and it is not a direct flight. Regardless, going this route saves over $1,000 out of pocket and over 20,000 miles. My point is, no pun intended, some of these redemptions are going to be expensive, and it'll depend on where you want to travel to and how crafty you are with finding redemption values. This is by no means the best way to get to London, but this is the best way that I found with the time allotted to create this video. Once you get to your destination, you will have a few other expenses that will come up. After all, you have to eat, you have to drink, there's ground transportation charges, there may be excursions you'd like to go on, some entertainment venues you'd like to visit. If your hotel has a casino, you may want to try your luck, so that costs money. You may also want to tip hotel staff for assisting you with your luggage, tip your taxi cab drivers, etc. There are many other expenses that I'm not going to go over in this video, but I just wanted to mention a few of them. And these expenses can be even more expensive depending on how many of you are actually traveling. If you're a party of 4, you're obviously going to spend more money than a party of 1, or I should say a family. However, if you are considering a premium level travel credit card, then I recommend watching this video next, where I compare the Venture X, Amex Platinum, and Chase Sapphire Reserve to one another. As always, thanks so much for making it to the end of the video, so come on over here and get your high five.